Hi everyone, it's Claudine Fernandez from Artistic Strategies Academy, and today's video post is actually inspired by one of my former colleagues, Rizal. So Rizal, if you are tuning in, hi and thank you for the inspiration for this video. The title of this video is, Are you future-proofing your child? Meaning, are you doing what it takes, or are you doing enough to ensure that your child is ready to enter the workforce of the future? So this was a table that Rizal shared on Facebook, which I found to be very useful, and I thought that it would be beneficial for us to discuss as well what we could do to ensure that our students and our children are acquiring the skills needed, not just for today, but for the future. Now, if you look at this table provided by the World Economic Forum, there are a couple of differences between the top skills needed in the year 2015 and the top skills needed in the year 2020. Creativity is now in the top 3 skills that are needed in the year 2020. Other than that, you have complex problem solving as well as critical thinking, which are the top 2, and there is also the addition of emotional intelligence, which we will talk about a bit later on. So as a parent or as an educator, how are you ensuring that your children or your students are acquiring creativity skills, or they are practicing creativity? Because, one of my Harvard lecturers used to say that creativity is not something that you either have or you don't, because anyone is really capable of coming up with creative ideas. They just need the right guidance and they need the right environment to be able to be creative. So the question is, when you are assigning tasks to your children or your students, are you ensuring that some of these tasks allow them to exercise their creativity? That some of these tasks, whether it is artistic tasks or writing tasks, do they allow your children to express themselves freely and creatively? And are they able to ensure that the child is using his or her own unique voice, as opposed to doing many worksheets and many repetitive tasks that might teach the child discipline, memory and rote learning, but not enable the child to express himself or herself creatively? So that's the first question. Are you giving your children enough exposure, or are you providing your children with enough opportunities to ensure that their creativity is fully developed? Now, if you take a look at the top 2 skills that are required in the year 2020, they are complex problem solving and critical thinking skills. Now, in my opinion, the best way to develop these skills are to allow the children to take charge and to take ownership of the way that they solve problems. So a good question to ask yourself would be, are your children or are your students coming to you for solutions, or do they try ways and means to solve the problems by themselves first? And in order to create this culture of problem solving or independent problem solving, a very good initiative would be to engage them in entrepreneurship tasks, or to kind of enroll them in a program that allows them to be entrepreneurs, maybe for a day or for a month, and for them to really come up with ideas to solve real world problems and to think of inventive solutions. They don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel, but they should be looking for different ways and means to use different materials in order to solve problems that are existent in the world today. So I know for a fact that there are some schools that are already doing this. For example, Singapore Polytechnic has an entire module called entrepreneurship, and this allows the students and the teenagers to develop critical thinking and complex problem solving skills. Other than that, there are also primary schools and secondary schools in Singapore that have innovation clubs as CCAs. So the students also get a chance to invent things or innovate, or to come up with different ideas for different things and to find solutions for different problems. So this is the way to go. If your child is not getting enough exposure in school, then you might have to think about outsourcing it or creating opportunities for your child to be enrolled in such programs so that he or she is able to learn these skills that are needed for the future. At the end of the day, we have to groom our children, we have to prepare them to not just be consumers of technology, but also to be creators and producers of technology, because that is the way to move forward. And the third thing that I would like to address today is emotional intelligence. EQ is not a new concept. It has actually been around for quite some time, and it is always compared to IQ. But the question is, again, are we preparing our students, or are we creating the necessary learning environments for them to be able to acquire, or for them to be able to develop emotional intelligence? So what is emotional intelligence? If we were to define it simply, it just means the ability to relate well to people, to understand the way that people think, and to communicate with people in the way that is best, or in a way that is efficient, and in a way that is comfortable for all parties involved. Best-selling author and the founder of the People of Science Research Lab, Vanessa Van Edwards, has found that people with a higher degree of emotional intelligence or higher interpersonal skills actually earn an average of 29,000 a year more than someone who doesn't necessarily have these people skills. But it's not just about money or how much we earn. Similarly, she also declared that people who had stronger interpersonal skills were 42% happier than people who did not rank very highly on interpersonal skills. So undoubtedly, to possess a high level of emotional intelligence will benefit children, will benefit us as well in the future. So how do we ensure that we are creating the necessary environment for them to have a high EQ? One way is to ensure that they are mixing with a very diverse group of people, and that they are working with different personality types. So this would prepare them for the eventual situation of the workforce, where they will be exposed to diverse cultures, especially since the world is getting more and more globalized, and they would have to be able to detect certain patterns or certain behavioral trends in people to be able to navigate tricky situations. So if your child is not engaging in as much social activity as he or she should, then perhaps it is time to consider where and when would be a good opportunity for him or her to be immersed in a social situation with people of different personality types, and for them to be able to work together to a common goal, for example, or to fulfill a project. So these are just some suggestions on how we could future-proof our children and prepare them in the best way possible. Of course, the list is non-exhaustive, so I would love to hear your thoughts as well on certain things that you are doing currently or you are thinking of doing to ensure that your child is just not excelling in exams now, but he or she will be ready for future challenges and be able to navigate the challenges of the future. In the meantime, have a good weekend, and I will see you next week with a brand new video. Take care.